The year is 1940, World War II is underway, and Europe is sinking fast. Poland, the first country to stand up to Hitler, has been completely overrun and divided between the Nazis and the Soviets. The world is struggling to grasp the scope of this new war, but a terrible secret, far darker than any battlefield, is taking root in the Polish heartland. It began as a small, unremarkable former army barracks near the town of Auschwitz. The Germans simply renamed it Auschwitz, and the whispers that started to leak out were unbelievable. This was no ordinary prison. It was a factory of systematic destruction. In Warsaw, among the tattered remnants of the Polish resistance, stood Captain Witold Pilecki. He was a man driven by duty, a seasoned soldier who had already risked his life for his nation. Now he faced a problem that no traditional spy mission could solve. How do you gather crucial intelligence from a prison where absolutely no one is supposed to leave alive? The leaders of the resistance concluded they needed an asset on the inside, a secret agent. But to pull this off, the volunteer would have to willingly surrender his freedom, his identity, and almost certainly his life. Pilecki didn't hesitate for a second. He stepped up immediately. His plan was incredibly bold, chillingly straightforward, and bordered on madness. They named it Operation Auschwitz. On the evening of September 19th, 1940, Witold Pilecki deliberately walked into a massive German street roundup in Warsaw. He carried fake documents under the name Tomasz Serafiński. He simply allowed the SS soldiers to capture him. He was packed onto that car with thousands of others, enduring the brutal transport until the doors finally slammed open, revealing the massive double gates and the notorious, deeply cynical sign, Arbeit macht frei, work sets you free. Witold Pilecki, the Polish captain, was now officially prisoner number 4,859. He had walked into his own captivity. Life inside Auschwitz was brutally engineered to crush the human spirit within a matter of weeks. There was starvation, endless forced labor, constant violence, and the pervasive, sickening stench of death. Yet Pilecki had a job to do. He was not just a victim. He was the eyes and ears of the Allied world. He immediately began his covert operation. Right under the watchful eyes of the SS guards, Pilecki organized the Związek Organizacji Wojskowej, ZOO, the military organization union. This wasn't about a mass breakout. It was a clandestine army focused on maintaining morale, secretly sharing food, upholding human dignity, and most importantly, documenting the horrifying truth. In less than 2 years, the ZOO network spanned the entire camp with hundreds of loyal members. Pilecki even set up a complex communications network, secretly building a radio transmitter from parts he salvaged. Every shred of horrific evidence, the slow starvation, the savage beatings, the large-scale deportation of Jews from across Europe, the construction of the massive gas chambers, was meticulously recorded. These tiny intelligence reports were secretly smuggled out by brave civilian workers. By 1943, Pilecki had successfully funneled an absolute torrent of evidence directly to the Polish government in exile, stationed in London. Witold Pilecki had fulfilled his critical mission. He had endured 947 days inside the camp. His reports, which detailed the mass murders and the true devastating scope of the horror, the very first comprehensive intelligence on the Holocaust, had reached the Allies. But they encountered a devastating new obstacle. No one would believe him. His testimony was too outlandish, too monstrous for leaders conditioned by traditional warfare to fully accept. Officials in London and Washington dismissed the specifics of the crematoria and the systematic gassings as merely Polish overstatement or hyperbolic wartime propaganda. They took no definitive military action against the camp itself. The intelligence mission was technically complete, but the camp's operations were only escalating. Pilecki realized he was too high profile within the resistance to risk being discovered, and he knew the SS was closing in. He decided he had to escape and deliver his final, overwhelming report personally. On the night of April 26, 1943, Pilecki, along with two other men, managed to escape the camp by overpowering a guard and slipping out through the camp bakery. They spent days running and hiding across the Polish countryside. Pilecki's detailed submission, now universally known as Witold's Report, is recognized as one of the most powerful and significant documents of World War II. Yet even after delivering it in person, the official Allied stance remained frozen. The claims are too much to credit. Witold Pilecki, the man who intentionally plunged himself into the deepest horror, continued to fight until Germany's eventual surrender. But his story contains one final, profound tragedy. After the war ended, Pilecki remained fiercely dedicated to the democratic ideals of the Polish government. When Poland fell under Soviet communist control, he was arrested by the new regime in 1947, accused of being a spy for the Western powers. The hero who successfully exposed Auschwitz was subjected to terrible torture by the very state he fought to liberate. At his final trial, when he was asked for his last statement, he gave a quote for the ages. "I tried to live my life so that in the hour of my death, I should feel no fear." Witold Pilecki was executed by the communists in 1948. For decades afterward, his name and his incredible acts were systematically scrubbed from history by the regime he resisted until his final breath. He volunteered to fight Nazism from the inside. He gave the world the absolute truth about Auschwitz, and he was made to pay for his loyalty twice over.